U.S. Secretary Lloyd Austin says that there is no evidence of a genocide in Gaza. That's right. In a congressional hearing, Senator Tom Cotton was grilling Lloyd Austin, or attempting to grill Lloyd Austin, and he asked them if there is evidence of genocide in Gaza. Here's what he said. I want you to hear for yourself.
I want to address what the protesters raised earlier. Is Israel committing genocide in Gaza?
Senator Cotton, we don't have any evidence of genocide being created.
So that's a no. Israel's not committing genocide in Gaza.
We don't have evidence of that, to
Thank
my
you.
knowledge. Yeah.
Better than Director Burns and Director Haynes did last month at the Intelligence Committee when they dodged that question. You stand accused by those protesters of greenlighting genocide. Would you like to respond to that accusation?
What I would say, Senator Cotton, from the very beginning is that we committed to help assist Israel in defending its territory and its people by providing security assistance. And I would remind everybody that, what happened on October 7th was absolutely horrible. Numbers of Israeli citizens killed, and then a couple of hundred Israeli citizens taken hostage.
American citizens as well.
American citizens as well.
So you deny the accusation that you greenlit genocide?
I absolutely deny.
Okay. For the record, I don't think Israel's committing genocide. I don't believe you greenlit genocide either. You talked a lot with Senator Reid about Israel's responsibility to provide aid in Gaza. Why does Israel have a responsibility to provide aid to Gaza? Israel was the victim of an unprovoked, vicious attack on October 7th. Why should they provide aid to the aggressor nation, or aggressor? Gaza's not a nation. To the aggressors on October 7th. We didn't provide aid to Germany and Japan during World War II.
What we did provide aid to and assistance to many of the countries that we've operated in recently.
But not in World War II. If you had been in George Marshall's or Dwight Eisenhower's position in World War II, would you have wanted to provide aid to Germany?
I really do believe, Senator, that if they want to create a lasting effect in terms of stability, then I think that something needs to be done to account to help the Palestinian people.
I get that, but they're in the middle of the war. Like we believe that too after World War II. That's why we had the Marshall Plan. That's why we rebuilt Japan. But that was after the war was won, not in the middle of it. And in the meantime, like if it's not Israel's responsibility to provide aid, it's certainly not our responsibility, but we're spending our tax dollars to build this giant pier to send aid into Gaza. Who's going to accept that aid? Who's going to be at the end of the pier on the shore taking aid from American forces?
That's still being worked out, but there will be NGOs that will help to distribute that.
Wow. What an exchange. So many things there that either were wrong or just disgusting or misleading. And let's first understand that this whole exchange was just a setup. This whole exchange was just a setup. They bring Lloyd Austin up there and ask him questions. Now, the point of the questions isn't his answer. The point of the question is to act outraged and to make your own testimony. So you notice Tom Cotton is doing as much talking as he is asking. So he asked Lloyd Austin, he said, look, these protesters out there, do you, they say you're committing a genocide. Do you think you're committing a genocide? Now, he's got one of two things. He can say yes, or he can say no, or he could punt. If he punts, they press him, and it looks like the Democrats are soft on Israel, and then Tom Cotton gets a victory, very similar to what we saw when the university presidents of University of Pennsylvania, MIT, and Harvard were grilled a few months ago. So no one wants to repeat that. So you don't punt, you don't duck, you got to answer directly. Lloyd Austin said, I don't see any evidence of that. When Lloyd Austin says, I don't see any evidence of that, that foils Tom Cotton's plan, because Tom Cotton is hoping that the Democrat will give the wrong answer on Israel. And the wrong answer in this case is what we would call the truth. The truth is Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. But no, you can't say that as the Secretary of Defense, because there has to be no daylight between Israel and the United States. So Tom Cotton is like, okay, well, if Lloyd Austin doesn't punt, which is what he's expecting or hoping for, and he actually says there's no genocide, then Tom Cotton has to then say what? Oh, I'm glad you said that because your homie up the street didn't say that last month. So-and-so didn't say that. So again, he's making testimony, making the Democrats look soft on the issue. And Tom Cotton is still testifying. And this is really a budget request, right? It's not like a testimony. It's not a trial. But what he's doing is he's making it seem as if Democrats are soft on this issue. But he's also creating a space for the Secretary of Defense to make a claim that there's no evidence, or that they haven't seen any evidence of Israel committing genocide in Gaza. Now, Lloyd Austin is also very careful. He's a military man. He's a company man, but he's savvy now too. He didn't say that they're not committing genocide in Gaza. He said, I haven't seen any evidence. We haven't seen any evidence. That's an important distinction because he may be willfully ignorant. He may have intentionally not looked at the evidence so that he can say, I haven't seen any evidence. For example, if my homie were to walk up to me and say, yo, I committed a murder. The murder weapon's in this bag. Let me show it to you. I'll be like, no, thank you. I don't want to see nothing. And then later on, if somebody says, did you see the murder weapon? I can say, I haven't seen a murder weapon. Did you see any evidence? I haven't seen any evidence that he committed a murder. See what I mean? So it's a careful thing. And the reason I'm giving Lloyd Austin even that much credit is because earlier in maybe like month 2, Lloyd Austin was saying to Netanyahu and to the Israeli leadership from Yoav Gallant and others inside the Netanyahu administration or cabinet rather, that they needed to take greater care not to kill civilians, that they needed to be more precise and less indiscriminate in their bombings. So Lloyd Austin knows that Israel's being indiscriminate. Now, he may feel that being indiscriminate doesn't mean you're committing genocide, but it's an interesting needle that you're trying to thread when you start making those kinds of claims. But then it gets more interesting. It gets more complicated because now Tom Cotton continues to press. And he asks him, do you feel like you're giving the green light to a genocide? He says, no, of course he says no. Because then he's implicated in war crimes. He don't want to be at the ICJ or the ICC. So he's like, no, I ain't green lighting nothing. But let's be very clear. When the United States gives weapons, defense systems, money, and political cover to Israel as it's slaughtering tens of thousands of people, they're complicit. That's a green light. When Israel's committing a genocide in Gaza and there is a ceasefire call and the U.S. vetoes it as a permanent member of the UN Security Council, that is a shutdown, automatic. When they do that, they're giving a green light for Israel to keep going. So it's just not true. It's just not true. But let's keep going. Keep going. Then Tom Cotton is making testimony. He says, why did people are saying the Israel has to provide aid to Gaza? Why does Israel have to provide aid to Gaza? And then he makes comparison to Germany in World War II and asks him, would you be providing aid to Germany during World War II in the middle of the war? Now, here's the problem with that analogy. Here's the problem with that. And Lloyd Austin answers it in a very complicated way, too, a sort of evasive way. But Tom Cotton let him off the hook because he didn't want to be out there. He says to him, why are we obligated to provide aid? And Secretary Austin doesn't actually answer the question. He doesn't explain why we must provide aid. He simply explains why it's advantageous or strategically wise to provide aid. But Tom Cotton is saying we don't have to, i.e. anything we do is bonus, but we don't have to provide aid. But here's the difference. Here's why providing aid here is different than providing aid to Germany or to Japan. The difference is Israel is an occupying power. As an occupying power, you do have responsibilities to the people you occupy. You can't just take their water and their electricity. That's clear. Also, Israel and Tom Cotton, as you could see, went to great lengths to tell you that Palestine isn't a country, that they're not at war with Palestine, and that Palestine isn't a country. They go to great lengths to tell you that they're not mad at Palestinians. They don't hate Palestinians. They just hate Hamas. So if you are an occupying power and you have responsibilities under international law to provide services, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and you're saying that you're actually not at war with the country, you're at war with what you call a terrorist group, and you deny their legitimacy as a democratically elected party, you deny their legitimacy as stewards of the state, you're saying they're just a terrorist group that has taken over, then you can't just go around saying, well, then we're not going to provide human rights support, because that would be collective punishment, which is what? Against the law. But on top of that, Israel is doing more than just failing to provide humanitarian support. They are obstructing humanitarian support. They are blocking trucks from getting in for months. They are shooting aid workers like World Central Kitchen. They are killing Palestinians. Look at what happened in what is it? Which round? It was the roundabout, one of the roundabouts in central Gaza. 2 weeks in a row where hundreds of people were shot down while they were standing in line waiting for food. These things are all illegal. You can't shoot innocent people while they go for food. You can't shoot people waving white flags. You can't shoot people in hospital beds. You can't shoot innocent people when you have no legitimate belief that there's a military target there. All of this is illegal. So it's not just that Israel isn't providing help. It's that Israel is denying and obstructing help from people they say they're not at war with. So yes, anyway, yes. So this is the messiness of it all. This is the danger of it all. This is a genocide. And let's not forget that regardless of what Tom Cotton thinks or what Secretary Austin thinks, let's be very clear that the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, said that there is a plausible case for genocide. They didn't rule that it was genocide, but they ruled that it was a plausible case because they read the evidence, because they hear about the attacks, because they've heard what the Israeli government and power brokers in the country have said about their intentions of what to do to Amalek. So let's be very clear here. Let's be very clear here. This is genocide no matter what the U.S. Defense Secretary says. We got to be honest about that.